So good afternoon. Welcome to Business as Usual. This is Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And I'm joined with my steady partner in crime, Jonathan Kirsting, who is Vice President of Visibility and all things media at the Tech Council. So I want to give a shout out to AT&T. AT&T has been a sponsor of our show for the last, what is it, Jonathan, 56 days?
50, no, it's more than that, 'cause it's 56 episodes we've done of this thing. It's like hundreds of
many days that is.
Yeah.
They have been a tremendous partner of ours, and they are a terrific SBA expertise and lender, the #1 in our region, and we're pretty excited about that. So just a couple of things about the shows coming up. Tomorrow we're going to be joined by Eric Booth, President of DeSimone Architects, and we're going to talk about trends. We're going to talk about trends in office space and the kinds of things that people are thinking about as they return to work, or if they don't return to work and they continue to work from home. Thursday, we'll be joined by Pittsburgh Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Anthony Hamlet, and along with the President and CEO of Neighborhood Allies for an update about the Beyond the Laptops, which we helped partner with them to make sure that we can get the city schools and I think some of the county schools kids access to laptops. And then Friday, we're going to finish up the week joined by John Thornton, who is the president, CEO, and founder of Pittsburgh's Astrobotic. And he's going to discuss the opportunities for Pittsburgh as it relates to space and the privatization of exploration. We've muted your microphone so that you can hear our guests and we don't have to hear any background noise. And with that said, we want the call to be interactive. So please take note, there's a chat at the bottom of the screen. So let's dive in. We're pleased to be joined, by Caren Glotfelty. She's the Executive Director of the Allegheny Parks Foundation, and Samson McHugh from Waxwing Cycles. And am I saying that right, Samson?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And Haley's there too.
And he's going to introduce his wife and partner as we dive deep into this discussion right now. So we are really looking forward to talking about the impact of public parks on our community, and then hearing from a small business owner about the impact of cycling's rapid growth in our region and all around the United States. So I'm going to start with Caren, and then I'm going to pass the baton to Jonathan in a minute. So Caren, can we begin let's just talk about what's the mission of the Allegheny Parks Foundation and some of the core focus areas that the organization has?
Sure, happy to do that, Audrey. Thank you for inviting me today. And I want to especially thank Jonathan, who serves on the board of directors of the Allegheny County Parks Foundation. And we rely on his expertise about how to make ourselves visible, as well as his great experience in bicycling. The Allegheny County Parks Foundation is the nonprofit partner organization with Allegheny County. And our mission is to improve, conserve, and restore the 9 Allegheny County parks. We do that by raising funds from private, public, government, foundation, and individual sources, including hosting some key events throughout the year. But our projects are our core focus. What we live to do is to work with the county on identifying projects in the 9 county parks that can improve the park user experience, and then we raise the dollars to help carry them out. So some of the projects that we've done include ecological assessments in 4 parks so far, and we're about to start 2 more. These take a look at the natural environment and suggest ways to improve the condition of the natural environment, which is so important in the user experience. Trails can erode, invasive species can come in, trees can die and become a nuisance. So we've been able to identify a whole range of projects to improve the environmental aspects of the parks. And then we've raised money to do them. We've planted hundreds and hundreds of trees. We've planted meadows, we've restored historic structures, and we've begun to do water quality improvements by planting along the streams that run through several of our parks.
So here we have this, COVID-19, we're like in week 15 of this in our region. And, what is the role that parks have played that you've seen any kind of shift or change over these last few weeks?
Yeah, we right away in March, when COVID became a thing that we were all concerned about, and we were being advised to start remotely working and sheltering in place, people started really coming out to the county parks. We almost immediately started seeing increased use in the parks, and some regions closed their parks to park users. Our county executive chose to keep them open, to put up lots of signage and other sources of advice about how to use the park safely. But there's been a huge increase in the usage in our parks. We haven't really had a way to count that, but we've observed that even on weekdays, most of the parking lots are pretty full. A lot of the cars have bike racks on the back, and their bikes must be off with them exploring the parks. So we believe that, and I actually checked in with our county parks director, Andy Beckley, yesterday to see if he could give me any sense of it. In his 17 years as county parks director, he says this is the highest usage he has ever seen in all 9 of the county parks. So wish we had numbers about it, but we really.
Oh, we lost her for a second.
Is their connection gone?
Yeah, her connection's gone. Well, let's just jump to Samson. Why don't you ask Samson some questions and we'll get Caren back.
Of course. So, I mean, we've been seeing this huge increase in cycling in the parks. I think any of us going out there, we're seeing all sorts of new folks that we don't normally see. She back?
Resource in our community.
Oh.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. Give us 1 second. We just jumped to Samson because we lost you. You froze for a second. So bear with us, Caren.
You were a slight.
Tell everyone who Samson.
Yeah. These are some of my new favorite people in my world right now. About a year ago, I discovered there's a little tiny bike shop right in my neighborhood, and I didn't know they existed because I didn't see their sign. And when I did, I was like, wow, this has to be the coolest bike shop in Pittsburgh because they have 2 of the coolest people that literally just doing a kick butt job, just selling the best bikes and repairing the bikes and keeping everybody up and moving. So Samson and Haley, I'm so glad you guys are here to hang out with us. And I'm just curious. I mean, I was in your shop yesterday and you were packed with bicycles. Samson was like pulling, when he had hair yesterday before he got it cut, he was pulling it all out because there were so many bikes to be repaired. Has there been an increase, or is it just me like thinking there's an increase in people getting out on their bikes?
You know, I wish it was all in your head, because if it was in your head, then it wouldn't be my reality. But it is insane. Like the number of, we have our customers, regular customers that come to us every year, and then we have this huge growth in terms of people that have had bikes that have been sitting in their garages for years, in a lot of cases many years, or there are people that are, pulling things that that they used to love and they just haven't had the time to whip out, or it was before they had kids. I mean, there's so many stories, but when you hear enough of them, you realize that it's all about people are taking their personal time seriously and taking that chance to get out there and ride their bikes again. So that's probably the biggest thing that we have seen different this year. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. I've been just seeing more people out there in general. It's like there's traffic jams sometimes in certain parts of the park where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I think I like this, but I kind of don't like it too.
It's amazing when you pulled up to an intersection on your bike and there are 4 streets and every single one has a bicycle on it. It's almost like cars, but with bikes, and which is exactly, I mean, obviously it is, but it's amazing. It's just great to see people out there riding their bikes, walking, being in the neighborhoods, and just enjoying the weather. And it's a good time of year, obviously.
Definitely. And Haley, you were considered an essential business, which I thought was really cool that bike shops were considered essential. So you guys were in the thick of it. I mean, masks on and disinfecting bikes. What was that like kind of in the middle of people just not knowing how dangerous it was going to be to like be in contact with others while working on people's bikes? I mean, my bike is pretty nasty sometimes,
Yeah, bikes definitely get really nasty. It was kind of surreal, like having to.
I got you. Go. You're answering the question.
Okay. you know, just having to be on top of your own personal safety gear, and, you know, hoping that the people that are coming are also adhering to that. Remembering your masks, bringing multiple masks, making sure you don't forget them. There is a bit of a shortage of rubbing alcohol, which we use in our daily maintenance, and then that all kind of dried up. So
do you think that this is just a little blip on the radar? Do you think it's just a little blip in terms of the growth of cycling?
No, well, at least I don't hope so. I hope that it keeps growing. I hope that people that are now, you know, finding their bikes again and finding out how great it is to ride again will continue doing that, and maybe it grows even further, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, it can only grow because if you think about it, if there are 100 new people grabbing their bikes and starting to ride again, even if only 50% of them continue on next summer, that's still a big growth in terms of people riding their bikes, riding in the parks and on the streets.
Absolutely.
Well, we are proud to see small businesses thrive. So anyway, I know that we put the site up, right? Waxwing.com.
We sure
You
did.
provide a lot of services. I know Jonathan here, he's a maniac. He's a maniac cyclist, and he's been always ahead of the curve. Like, watch what he said a minute ago is like, oh my gosh, now we have like bike traffic. And which is pretty funny. But we're going to get back to you. We're going to jump back to Caren real quick, so both of you don't go anywhere. And
All right.
Don't go anywhere. I want to just talk to Caren because we had a little bit of a blip on her internet connection. So, are you seeing an uptick in the usage of hikers in the park as well?
Yes, yeah, we are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately, so many people are walking around North Park Lake on the Loop Trail and up and down Corrigan Drive. It's almost become an interstate highway in those two parks. So what we've been doing through an ad campaign that we've undertaken throughout this period is to encourage people to seek out other trails and other walkways within the 9 county parks. We have 180 miles of trails in the 12,000, and these are designated trails in the 12,000 acres in our 9 county parks. So we've been encouraging people to find a park you've never been to, look for a trail you've never been to. There is a terrific app that's called Allegheny County Parks Trails that's available for free from your app store. And it can really be a good source of information to seek out trails you've never been on. Definitely there's an increase in hiking, but we want people to maybe don't go to the normal places everyone else has, find something new to enjoy.
And there's a lot to be said for trail etiquette as well too in these times. Since everyone's using the trails, we all want to enjoy them. So the idea of, you know, when you're a cyclist and you're hauling, you know, be nice to the people that are hiking, and make sure you give plenty of warning and space to pass, because we want everyone to have a safe, fun experience and realize we're all in this to enjoy the trails.
So I want to go back to the Waxwing owners with Samson and his wife. What is the profile? What's the profile of the people who are buying these bikes and who are riding? Is there any kind of demographic other than Jonathan?
We only sell bikes to Jonathan.
That's right.
Well, right. Jonathan buys bikes like normal people buy paper towels.
He definitely does. So the profile of like the people that are buying bikes from us, or the people that are coming in for tune-ups and kind of
everything. What's the profile of people who are cycling?
So the profile of people that we're seeing is broadening, I would say. It used to be, you know, last summer we were seeing a lot of the, you know, people that had been biking and, you know, getting bikes every few years, you know, getting tune-ups, upgrades and just updates. Like those were the steady kind of people that you'd see, people that were very hardcore. I would, you know, some people might say hardcore.
Yeah, I would say our general customer demographic is like maybe a step above an enthusiast. So they know what they like, they know what they want, they ride a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now it's like I said, it's broader. I mean, it includes people that want to just start commuting or riding to get groceries. People that it's like a lot of people that remember biking from their youth and just want to get back into it, and don't know where to start. So coming to us, a small shop, it's really nice because you're talking to the people that are not only the people that are working on your bike, but there aren't layers here. It's me and it's Haley, and you're talking to people who ride every type of bike pretty much you can
Bagel's
ride.
there too. You can't forget
Yeah.
Bagel.
Yeah, and then we do have a dog, and he provides some input. Largely, it's in the form of asking for treats. But
So,
it,
are there
yeah.
any kinds of bikes that you're seeing a trend on? Like, are they mountain bike type?
As a general trend in the bicycle industry, we're seeing a lot of growth in what's called a gravel bike or an all-road bike. And what that really means is it's a bike that you can ride as a road bike. It's a bike you can take into Frick Park and put bigger tires on if you wanted and ride up and down the trails. Not a mountain bike necessarily, but it is the newest genre of bike, and it's really great because it can do whatever you ask it to do by simply changing the tire size or the tread. It's a bike that's is happy out in the middle of nowhere as it is putting on a rack and getting groceries with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got disc brakes and drop handlebars. It's really, I'd say that's what we're seeing the most of right now. And used bikes, to be honest with you, a lot of people getting back into this, or they've got kids, they want to start riding with their kids, and that would be a whole nother segment in what their challenges are in terms of running a bike shop business in this current COVID mania. Yeah.
I'm optimistic though, listening to the both of you.
Oh yeah, it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, it's good.
It could only be better.
That's great. Well, we know that. Let's go back to Caren. Caren, there's been a lot of investment in the park, in terms of upgrades, but you also do fundraisers. I mean, there's lots of ways for people to contribute. And can you talk about fundraising events, what's coming up? How are you going to do Pour in the Park?
Well, unfortunately, so for the past 3 and 4 years, we've done 3 fundraising events. We've done a Pour at the Park North Park. We've done in May, we've done a Pour at the Park South Park. In September and in late August, we've done a fancy party called Twilight Picnic for the Parks. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our May Pour at the Park at North Park, which was really unfortunate because last year we held it at the North Park Lodge and people loved it. We had music, we had all kinds of beverage and food vendors, and people really enjoyed that particular site, but we couldn't do it this year. We're not going to be able to hold an in-person Twilight Picnic for the Parks this year because even under the green phase, we don't think people are going to be comfortable with 400 people under a tent, even though it would be in beautiful Heartwood Acres. We're holding off making a decision about Pour at the Park at South Park. We may be able to hold that one. I don't know yet. Those events are really, really important because they bring in about 25% of our operating support for the Allegheny County Parks Foundation, which is what enables us to be great partners with the Allegheny County Parks Department and pursue funding for specific projects that will make the parks even better. This year, we're going to try to do a general appeal in lieu of the Twilight Picnic for the Parks. We have been able to retain most of our major sponsors so far. So we think that might work, but we'd love to go back in 2021 to at least those 3 events and maybe others, because people tell us they really enjoy going to a gathering like that in the park environment with their families, and in the case of North Park, they can even bring their dogs.
Well, people can contribute though directly.
They can. You can go to our website. There are donate buttons everywhere, like like every nonprofit. Love to have people just generally contribute. We do send out appeals and mailings, so when you get those, do sort of take a look and go on our website. We have a brand new website that we're really, really proud of, that gives you just a lot of information about what's going on in the parks and what we're doing to help the county in the parks. And it's always possible to donate there, but we'll be asking the general public and park users more through social media and paper mailings this year than we ever have before, because we need to raise those funds.
Absolutely.
So there's another question from Anita. Do you see that, Anita? Jonathan?
I think so. Hold on. I'm pulling my chat window.
Here, I have it.
So I can see. You have it. You ask it. Because yeah, my chat window
is there, Nita's asking, is there a way to organize events around biking and parks to keep this going? Keep this whole momentum going?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that we have done in the past, when there was the pour in the park, some of our friends and stuff would do a bike ride before the pour in the park and then enjoy the pour in the park. So the idea of getting a nice big group ride together and then having a nice couple tasty beers and some great food is a great way to spend a Friday or Saturday evening. That's for sure.
Okay. So that we put the parks link up in the chat.
You did.
And know that, you know, Jonathan's on the board and that, you know, we want any kind of support that we can to make sure that the parks get what they need. So appreciate that. And Caren, if you do anything remotely, you know, let us know and we'll share that as well.
Happy to do it. I might also suggest, in terms of answering the question about organizing events, I know there are a couple of other nonprofit organizations that may be doing specific park bike related events. I'm not aware of them in detail, but Venture Outdoors may be doing some things. Trail Pittsburgh, mountain biking promoting organization, may be doing some things. And I don't think there's anything to prevent any of you who are bicycling buddies from doing what Jonathan suggested, which is get together, pick a trail off the Allegheny County Parks Trails app and meet up and do it.
Shred and have some fun. Simple as that.
So I want to get back to, can we get back to Samson? Is there anything in the supply chain that you've had problems with in getting?
Yeah. Oh, so many things. Children's bikes in particular. You can't get them.
Really?
Interesting.
Hybrid bikes, anything under $1,000 is almost impossible to get. If someone doesn't already have it, we had a guy who was looking to spend a good little bit of money for a mountain bike, a nice entry level, like $1,000 mountain bike, and we couldn't get anything. And he ended up having to order it from a shop that had it in stock in Minneapolis. So, you know, I'd say bikes, and it is because everyone's buying new bikes, and you know, we're definitely, originally we were having issues with
warehouses being shut down.
Yeah. When California was shut down, you know, we couldn't get anything out of those warehouses. A couple of bike brands that we deal with come out of California, so things weren't moving. And now, because of the amount of service work, things that normally take 1 to 2 days are sometimes taking a week and a half to show up, because the warehouses are backed up, and they're also using safe practices so that, you know, they don't have a bunch of people just working and moving things around. So you got less product available because everyone's snapping it up, and then you have less people to get it to you.
I heard that there was a lack of helmets too.
We haven't seen that yet. It depends on the brand, you know, where they're coming from, and I could definitely see that. It's almost a consumable. Helmets, should be replaced every 2 to 3 years as the foam breaks down.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, all of that stuff. Tires are starting to become hard to come by, in certain tires, sizes, and combinations. It's sometimes it's regular things that you expect, and then sometimes it's just bizarre things that you never assume would ever run out. But it's it's a challenge, and you just stay flexible, and you keep people up to date, or you try to as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Jonathan is a bike hoarder, so you might want to work with him on
I've been shedding my bikes lately.
He has.
These guys.
So someone made a comment, Caren, that there's new bathrooms and facilities up in North Park. Is that done through fundraising? Did the Parks Foundation make that happen?
No, we didn't, but Allegheny County Parks Department has been putting many more resources into all of the parks over the last few years, upgrading facilities like the bathrooms, like some of the shelters, really trying to improve the condition of the roadways and the walkways. So I'm really proud of our county government that they are upping their investment in these facilities, understanding how important they are to all of us.
Well, the parks represent part of the key assets in our region. I mean, that is part of the huge sale and a sense of place. So it's really important for us to keep these parks infrastructure up and, make sure that we're having the kind of access that people want and need. As you can hear from the Waxwing folks, this could be just the beginning of an uptick. Jonathan, I think there's a couple of other questions out there.
Let me see here. My chat's acting funky today. Let me see here. So what is the most, this would be for our friends at Waxwing here, what is the most common issue that is easily overlooked for someone new to bicycling? I think that's a good one right there.
Comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Yes, making sure that your brake levers are adjusted so that I see it all the time. I see kids' bikes where the kid can't even reach the brake levers, and they're very simple adjustments, but just a lot of little touches. Anything your butt or your hands touch should be as ideal as possible. It doesn't matter if it's a $200 bike or a $10,000 bike. If you're not comfortable on it, you're not going to ride it, and you're not going to ride it for very long, for sure. If that I think is the number one thing people overlook. Take it to somebody who cares, who will take some time and make it fit right. And honestly, most of the time it doesn't cost any money. It's just a little bit of time, and you're happy.
Absolutely.
So Caren, in the parks themselves, are people allowed to bring liquor? Do they need a license? What are some of the rules?
So, so you can rent shelters, and you can purchase a liquor permit if you've rented a shelter to consume the alcohol within that facility. I don't think you can just generally get a license for liquor consumption anywhere in the park. I think it's related to the rental of facilities, and lots of people like to have parties in those shelters and family reunions and that sort of thing, and the liquor permits are available.
Excellent.
Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about, Caren, in the park before we?
Yeah, I want to mention a couple of really specific trails that people might not be aware of and might be interested in. So a couple of the early projects that the Allegheny County Parks Foundation raised money for and had executed were, there is now a bike trail connection from South Park to the Montour Trail. So if you're on the Montour Trail, you can get into South Park that way, or if you're a user in South Park and you want to go on down to the Montour Trail and take up a section of it and even maybe ride all the way to the Great Allegheny Passage, you can do that.
I use that connection all the time, I will say. It's a very nice one. Got a nice sharp,
good. And there is an almost complete connection from Settlers Cabin Park down to the Panhandle Trail, which then ultimately connects with the Montour Trail, etc. We're working with the Parks Department now to complete that last quarter mile that will allow you to be off-road from Settlers Cabin Park down to the Panhandle Trail. So particularly for bicyclists, those would be really interesting trails to explore if you're not already familiar with them. And for hikers, a very recently completed trail improvement in Settlers Cabin Park called the Waterfall Trail takes you down a fairly steep slope, but on a now much gentler path down to a just very sweet little waterfall at the bottom of the trail. And it's about, I think, a quarter mile down and a quarter mile back. And it's a sweet little, not very long trip to take. And there are plenty of other trails, but those are ones that we've had particular participation in implementing.
So we have spent a delightful 30 minutes with Caren Glotfelty, and Samson McHugh and his wife of Waxwing. Caren runs the Allegheny Parks. We are very proud of the work that you do, Caren. We're here to support you. Jonathan Kirsting's on your board. And we, just care about making sure this region is amazing. And the growth of cycling has been astronomical for us, much to Jonathan Kirsting's dismay, even though he loves it. He doesn't.
I like it.
He doesn't want all these traffic congestions on cycling. But go to waxwing.com if you're interested in this small business and help them. They're out in the East End. And Caren's information has been posted. They are always doing fundraisers because 25% of their operating costs actually are needed through fundraisers. So I can't thank you all. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We will continue to provide you relevant information each and every day about the stories of people who are working to transform this region. So thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you, Samson and Haley. And thank you, Caren.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks for having us.